and thank you, Reiner and Karen, for giving me this possibility. We already talked a little bit about this topic some time ago, and we're going to do an exercise this evening. Before we go to the presentation, I would like to say a couple of words. The first thing that I want to say is that I'm going to share information about Generation Z and how they have been grouped by the professionals that have been studying this generation that we have in our hands, and we have to work with them and for them. And I will ask you to do an exercise today. So you will meet in teams, in groups, and you will have to talk about some of those groups that we have defined, or the experts have defined in Generation Z. I'm not looking for any difficult topic to be raised, but in any case, Generation Z is not an easy topic. So I hope we can discuss openly without any problems the topic that we have at hand tonight. So let's start. I'm going to try to remind a little bit what we shared last time. Just a quick, just not to go directly into the work that I want to do tonight. These are the generations. There's one generation before the baby boomers that I did not add in this graphic. That generation is the silent. They called that generation the silent generation. Maybe because they were just individuals that would, woke up, went to work, come back home, and go to sleep. So that's a silent generation. But after that generation, individuals have been trying to understand how people behaved, why they behaved the way they did, and they divided those groups in generations. So the first one that we have very clear in history are the baby boomers. And the ages of the dates that I have put below each one of those generations are approximate. Those dates are not the law. I mean, if you were born in 65, you cannot be a baby boomer, or if you're 64, you cannot be Generation X. But that's something for us to have an idea where those generations were born. And it's very interesting to see the trends in each one of those generations, and to see how each generation has been changing a little bit depending on the situations they faced, how society was behaving, the influence they got from previous generations, and actions they took to modify or change some behaviors. So baby boomers, they were raised by hippies and yuppies. I don't know if you remember this famous van from Germany. I would like to buy one for me, when I retire, because I love them. This famous van in which, the hippies and yuppies, they used to go everywhere. And, baby boomers, free love. So they were raised by the builders or silent generation that was before them. If you look at the family values and their situations, they have a strong family values, multi-child families, strong respect towards elders. So multi-child, I know families from those ages that they had 8, 9, 10 families, 10 kids, even more. I mean, it's you produce and produce and produce. So the values and attributes for that generation, they tried to start, redefining traditional values. They started to be more independent, more liberal. They wanted to experience, experimental, free spirit. And I come a little bit after this generation. I'm Generation X, and I also see this free spirit in me sometimes. So you look at the workforce values. They were strong work ethic, loyal to their job. And they used to work in groups, strong group workforce, not individualistic, but working groups. What were the global events that were in that generation? This generation is post World War II, and at that time, peace and love movement. I imagine you have some events mainly Woodstock in the US, that has been replicated. And even today, it's happening sometimes in Europe, some replicas of that event. Then rock and roll started in that at that time. And I heard, and I read that in our church, rock and roll was extremely criticized. And not only this, but other kinds of music that today are accepted. The assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Also, 5 years later, the brother was killed. And also Martin Luther King. Those are some of the things that were highlights in that generation. Communication mediums, what they used to communicate, face-to-face, radio, TV, print, and direct mail. So writing letters, sending them by mail. No, we go next to the Generation X, and they are known as latchkey kids. They were raised by the early baby boomers, and sometimes they were left alone when they went out of school. That's latchkey kids means. These are, when we look at family values and situations, first, latchkey children increased divorce rates, redefinition of family values. They started to change what are the values of family, and then values and attributes: ethical, independent, adaptable, open to diversity, workforce values, loyal to their job, like the previous one, increasing female workforce, more individually focused. It's not just we work with the group, but I'm trying to look for myself, individually focused. And what are the events, global events, that marked this generation? The Berlin Wall, Watergate scandal, the moon landing, the Vietnam War, and the civil rights movement. And I'm from this generation. I don't know how many of you are in this generation. Maybe some, I don't know if somebody is from baby boomers, but I'm Generation X. I was born in 1966, so I'm Generation X. I belong to this generation. And communication, ways of communicate: email, mobile, face-to-face. We're still using face-to-face, and TV. Those were the highlights for that generation. But then we go to Generation Y, also known as the millennials, and they were raised by the late baby boomers. So baby boomers, they raised Generation X and Generation Y. And in Generation Y, we start to see single-parented children. Divorce becomes common. It's not just some increasing in divorce rates. Divorce becomes something that is common, and they start losing traditions. Traditions are not important. They are not the things that are driving our lives. In values and attributes, they are optimistic, independent, adventurous, conservative, open-minded, and entrepreneurial. Workforce values: they seek good work, life balance, and strong sense of entitlement. I need to have titles. I need to be have 2-3 master's degrees. I need to be a doctor. That's Generation Y. And then global events: the rise of technology, environmental issues. I'm going very fast in this because I don't want to use a lot of time in this. Financial crisis and terrorism. World is changing in this generation, and next one is even worse. Then, and the communication mediums, we're starting with the smartphones, mobile and smartphones, email, digital, and instant messaging. Face-to-face disappears. That doesn't mean that it's not happening, but it disappears like something common. And then you go to Generation C, 1996, 2009, my 2 daughters, they are right there, Generation C. They are raised by us, Generation X, and they're known as digital natives. Family values and situations. Look at how things are changing from one generation to the next one. Little by little, some things are being left behind or abandoned completely. So we have in family values and situations, single or same-sex parents, little attachment to traditional values, and perceives family as support. So I want to study. I'm not going to work. You are going to pay for me because you're my parents, you're my father, you're my mom. You pay for me everything I need. And in my time, I needed to work to pay my studies. My parents, they were behind me just in case I needed some help, but I had to work for it. Now, Generation C sees family as a support for their needs. Values and attributes: internet savvy, conservative, impatient, creative, innovative, social, visual, adventurous, hyper aware. They know absolutely everything because they're all day long connected to their cell phones. So hyper aware. Workforce values: multitaskers, adventurers, seek flexibility, reality and openness, creative, innovative, and entrepreneurial. And global events: rise of social media, same-sex marriage. And look how it has been changing the situation of families along each one of the generations. Climate change, terrorism, and the rise of feminism. And then the communication mediums: mobile, smartphones, they live on them, digital, FaceTime, Skype, Hangout, instant messaging, TikTok, you name it. They are almost everywhere. And I'm not going to get into Generation Alpha. Just a couple of things to say. They are very close to Generation C, but maybe we'll need to take time for them alone because they are starting to be the ones we're working with in a very strong way, Generation Alpha. And they are very close to Generation C, but they have some things that are special to them. But we're not going to talk about them today. So let's go to the next slide, just for you to see that we have here 3 generations: Z, Alpha, and Generation Beta. They started with the Greek alphabet because they finished with the other one, and they decided that we're not going to go back to A. We're going to the Greek alphabet. That's why we have Alpha, Beta. That's what they have in mind. And you have some of the things that you will see that what they preview. What's going to happen in different areas: in education outcomes, employable, Generation C, Generation Alpha, adaptable, and Beta, entrepreneurial. And school focus: Zeta, exam results; Alpha, learning skills; Beta, life skills. And if you look at marketing, peers, face by face, I will tell you, I will share with you. But then in Alpha, and we can see this rising a lot, influencers. And in Beta, artificial intelligence. That's what they envision, how it can go. Work style: the first one, participative, then collaborative, and then co-creators. And the leader, the ideal leader for them, for the Zeta, it's coordinator. But for the Alpha, empower. I mean, I'm the leader just to see how you do, and I give you the possibility of do everything, and I'm not the one in the middle. I'm a little bit outside. And for Beta is the enlarger. He will be inside, but a smaller, as you can see, smaller than the other ones. The other ones are the ones more important in the group. And then payments, technology, touchscreen, voice recognition, gesture control. These are some of the things that are coming to us in the near future, and some of them we have them already in our houses. And now, what I would like to do with you, it's an activity. It is important for us to understand the people we're working with to be able to reach them. If we don't understand them, it's going to be very difficult for us to reach them. So one of the things that they use in the business world is to create prominent personas to understand, to look at the groups, at the market group that you're going to be working for or with. And then when you understand that group better, you can serve that group better. So we're going to do an activity, and I'm going to go through these different personas that I have created, and then you will be divided in groups and talk about one of the personas that I will explain to you right now. So specialists, they have decided to divide the Generation C in 8 groups. We divide this generation in 8 groups, and then with these 8 groups, we can say that we are having all of them represented. That's what the kind of the professionals, so the the people that are studying Generation C in a deeper way say. So these are the 8 different groups. The first one, they're digital natives. They know how to filter information and access data they require from online sources, extremely tech savvy. This will be one of the personas, one of the groups, and I have created a persona for this one. Then we have world changers. Generation C members are growing up in a world that is at the brink of collapsing thanks to climate change. That's how they see it. Members of this generation show a drive towards sustainability, clean energy, and other ways to save the planet. Then we have the adventurers, another group. Generation C members also show a strong desire to travel around the globe. Knowing about interests like this can help you develop a strong message for this generation. Entrepreneurs, another group. With an explosion in population and limited job resources, members of the Generation C community are turning to the idea of being self-employed. In some countries, this is easier to achieve than others. Then you have the gaming fans. I don't know, you read the newsletters. I read them every morning, 2 or 3 different ones. I mean, in every single newsletter you read on internet, you will find some news about gamers. Gaming fans, being digital natives, most of these youngsters have built a career online. I read a story, a news, that a father decided to remove his kid from school. The kid was 8 years old only. And he decided to remove him from school because playing in the afternoons, the kid earned more money than the father working. So the father said, you know, no, you're not going to study anymore. You're going to dedicate your time to play games. And the kid was making a lot of money. We're talking 8, 9 years old kid. I mean, there was a big buzz about it because the educators, how can you remove a kid 8 years old from school? But for you to understand, gaming fans, they can spend hours and hours and hours looking at a screen playing games. Some of them are even using gaming platforms like Twitch to earn a living today. So YouTubers, influencers, that's another group. Like gamers on Twitch, there has also been a rise in the number of YouTubers, influencers from this generation. Every time there's more individuals, 20 years old, and they're influencing peers and even adults with their videos. They are more accepting of LGBTQ+. This generation has been raised in a more progressive society and is more accepting of the LGBTQ+ community than any others. More members of the Generation C group identify as LGBTQ+ than any others. And then fashion forward. This generation is also fashion forward. They are ready to try out new trends, sustainable clothing ideas, etc. So I have created 8 individuals. Each one of them has a name. You will receive this PDF presentation right now, and you're going to be divided in groups, and in the group you need to choose one, because we don't have time for more, but you can use this as an activity in your churches or with the small groups that you lead, or even with the parents. You can use this to have a conversation. I'm not trying to solve everything right now because, I mean, I don't have all that knowledge, but at least we can start a conversation. So you will be divided in groups. This is the first one, World Changer. You read the story if you want, and you choose Adele. Or you can go with the digital native, that's Gabriel, and you read the story that I built for him, and then you will ask some questions, okay? You can choose the adventurer, Luis, and you can read also the story behind him and answer the questions. You can choose the entrepreneur, that's Emma. You will have a little bit of time to read through all these individuals. Then you have the gamer, is Hugo. You have the influencer, that's Agatha, and then you have the LGBTQ plus, that's Liam. You read the story, and then the fashion individual, Amber, and then you choose one of those 8 individuals, and in your group you discuss these 3 questions. If you want to discuss something else, that's okay. We're going to have less than 15 minutes because we don't have that much time, but at least you can start talking about it. Question number 1, challenges you see you'll face when dealing with this persona in the church. And you can also change church for family. Question number 2, offer some possible solutions to the challenges you've seen for this persona. And number 3, what would you do to involve this persona in the church life? What are the strengths of this persona? And those are the 3 questions. You're going to get this file, and then you can start talking a little bit about it. And when you're done, we're going to give you maybe 10 minutes, Rainer, Karen, 10 minutes is okay for them to talk about. And then you will come back here, and I would like for you to explain or share a little bit the experience of this time that you spent talking about these personas, and then we will go to questions and answers. I hope we have enough time for all this. So we can divide in groups, right?
Okay, thank you.